President Donald Trump announced a trade deal with Vietnam in a huge development, the second such trade deal since the president announced he was increasing tariffs on the United States trading partners. So, in this video, I'll talk about the details of this trade deal and what it could mean for stock market investors. Let's take a look. All right, so President Trump on Wednesday said that he had reached a trade deal with Vietnam 1 week ahead of the July 9th deadline for tariffs to snap back to higher levels for U.S. partners. Remember, President Donald Trump announced those initial increases in tariffs on April 2nd, Liberation Day, where there was huge increases in tariffs on every one of the United States trading partners. And of course, that news sent the stock market crashing. And since then, since the president paused those tariffs and announced the truce with China, there's been a recovery in the stock market. Now the stock markets are above the levels they were before those tariffs were announced, even though there hasn't been very many deals reached. And even in the deals that have been reached, including this one, the tariff rate is still significantly higher than where it was on April 2nd. So I've been very surprised to see the stock market roaring to record highs, even though the tariff rates are going to be higher, which means lower profit margins for businesses, which means higher inflation for U.S. consumers, which means slower economic growth in the United States, slower economic growth worldwide. So Trump said that Vietnam's goods imported to the U.S. would face a 20% tariff. So still way higher than where they were before the president announced the initial Liberation Day tariffs. I believe tariffs against Vietnam were less than 5% before the initial increase to 46% and then pause. And now with the deal, Vietnam gets a tariff of 20%, which is lower than the 46% they would have faced if they didn't reach an agreement with the United States. But also, it's higher than the 10% rate they were paying during this pause. So many importers during this pause did well to get ahead of these deadlines and import a lot of goods ahead of these tariffs. So I think it's important to go over what a tariff is, how it impacts businesses and U.S. consumers. So a tariff is imposed on the importer of the products. So it's not the country that pays the tariff. Vietnam is not the one that's paying the tariff. It's the business that has production in Vietnam and it's importing those goods from Vietnam to the United States.
Click the link below to watch the full video.